The NFL is terrified of this because if everything goes according to plan, the Baltimore Ravens won't just have one of the league's best defenses, they could have one of the NFL's next shutdown superstars. And the scariest part, I don't even think we've seen his best football yet. This player, of course, that we are talking about is Nate Wiggins, and heading into year 3, there is some real argument that this year will be the perfect storm for him to become one of the NFL's most elite corners. When you look at everything working in his favor going into this season, it's hard not to believe why 2026 could be the year for Nate Wiggins to break out and show why he is one of the best corners in the entire NFL. But before we get into today's video, you guys are going to want to make sure to subscribe to Ravens Digest. 60% of you guys are unsubscribed. We're on the road to 100 subscribers. It's great to say that you're a part of the journey for an early YouTube channel and to be one of the earlier subscribers for Ravens Digest. It is completely free, no cost at all, and the Ravens videos and updates we are providing every single day. You guys are not going to want to miss out on any of the content that we are providing for you guys at all. Now, shifting towards Nate Wiggins specifically, year 3 is the perfect year for Nate Wiggins to take that leap. Year 3 is the year that a lot of corners in the NFL take their biggest jump because the game starts to slow down mentally for these players. 2 full years of NFL experience means that Nate Wiggins just has seen about every route concept, offensive scheme, and just about every quarterback tendency going into this new year. Nate Wiggins is more comfortable reacting to offenses before the snap simply than just reacting to the ball. This allows him to play faster and more free because he's thinking less about actual outcome and trusting his own instincts way more. This is usually when athletic corners start to put everything together, and obviously, as we know based on Clemson, Nate Wiggins has all of the physical tools to make this jump going into the upcoming season. Now, going into Nate Wiggins last year specifically and going into this year, Nate Wiggins had offseason surgery this current offseason and revealed that he had been dealing with the same injury dating back to high school. At high school level, he, despite that, played every single game, and specifically for the Baltimore Ravens last 2 years, played every single game and was one of Baltimore's most productive defensive backs throughout the season. He's estimated to have playing around 60 and 70% for much of last season, and if that was only 60 to 70% of what he could do on the field, the Baltimore Ravens should be pretty excited for the future of what we saw. Now, post-offseason surgery, he's saying that he feels 100%, is excited, and this is what makes the season very exciting to see. If he was already playing at a very high level, and now the physicality is coming back to him, Nate Wiggins is pretty excited going into the new year to be that detrimental piece. Now, Nate Wiggins specifically said that they're going to see a big transition this year, how I move and all that. I'm just so happy going into this year. I know the coaches are happy. They say it every single day. I know it's going to be a big year for me, and I cannot wait for the year. Nate Wiggins is looking to have a very exciting year going into this upcoming season, and Nate Wiggins could produce at the highest level and become a top 5 to top 10 corner simply based on what he brings to the table as an NFL cornerback. Now, the biggest concerns going into Nate Wiggins' career out of Clemson was that he could not hold up physically in the NFL. They said that his physicality was lacking, and he looks notably stronger this offseason and towards the back half of last year than he did as a rookie. That added strength overall helps him against bigger receivers and at the line of scrimmage in contested catch situations and as a tackler in run support to be able to disrupt in that phase of the game. The concerns specifically surrounding his size, as we talked about, he's 6'1", 6'2", 180. The concerns around his size are starting to disappear, and going into this upcoming season, I don't think the Ravens have a sense of concern to be able to provide for that. Now, in terms of Jesse Minter specifically, as we know, the new coach for the Baltimore Ravens, Jesse Minter brings in something specific to the defense that I think will be very exciting to see from Nate Wiggins' perspective. As we know, Marlon Humphrey is the leader on this defense in terms of the corner room, and his versatility overall allows you to play him in multiple places, whether that's CB1, CB2, put him in the slot. Marlon Humphrey is a true piece that you can move around the field in multiple positions. But this specifically opens the door for Nate Wiggins to become the Baltimore Ravens' true outside number 1 lockdown corner. This means matching up against number 1 players every single night, day in and day out, and Baltimore hasn't been protecting him anymore. They've trusted him with some of the toughest assignments, as we saw towards the back half of last year. Nate Wiggins is one of the most detrimental pieces, as we know, going into this upcoming season. And as we talked about Nate Wiggins and some of those receiver 1 battles that he's already had going into this season, we already know that he has guarded some of the best receivers in the entire NFL. Last season, they didn't hide him at all. make him guard a number 2 or a number 3. We saw him against Jamar Chase battling throughout the season as there's an AFC North rival, and there's obviously a big rivalry between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. But other notable names, as we know about, Nate Wiggins and CeeDee Lamb, one of the best receivers in the entire NFL. He wasn't shadowing these receivers every game because that's not how Baltimore's system operates. He competed inside of the system, and the confidence from the coaching staff shows with Nate Wiggins' ability to go out and guard those number 1 high-level receivers every single snap and be able to contribute positive reps throughout the entire NFL. Nate Wiggins and his athletic traits are very elite, as we know about. He's one of the fastest corners in the entire NFL, and his elite recovery speed allows him to make up ground in those tough situations when it looks like he could have been beaten on the route initially. Fluid, as we already know, and he mirrors receivers all throughout their breaks. But obviously, we can't talk about the mistakes because of his speed. These are traits that you simply can't really teach, and Nate Wiggins has all of the traits to be a positive player for the Baltimore Ravens going into this upcoming season. Now, if we go specifically talking about Nate Wiggins' stats from last season going into 2025, Nate Wiggins in 2025 saw a bit of a leap in terms of being able to produce and get past deflections and breakups. Nate Wiggins' motor is really high as you see him in the running game and in those short screen situations to be able to commit solo tackles and not be over physical with the routes to be getting those unnecessary defensive holdings and things of that nature. But Nate Wiggins completely overhauled his system last season with him being able to contribute based on his rookie season. As a rookie, he played in 15 games, had 25 tackles, and combined for 33 tackles with 13 pass deflections and 1 interception. But last year was one of the biggest seasons that Nate Wiggins had, as we talked about, at 50 to 60% of his game, with him playing in all 17 games, having 57 tackles, 19 assisted tackles, 76 combined tackles, 14 pass deflections, and 3 interceptions, which was nothing but prominent for him to have a breakout year going into the last season. Now, what does this mean for the Baltimore Ravens defense as a whole, with Nate Wiggins being able to contribute as one of the higher tiered pieces in the entire NFL? As we talked about with Jesse Minter's defense specifically, Nate Wiggins is set out to have a great cornerback season due to the help around him now with Trey Hendrickson and those other pieces in the pass rushing. Better pass rushers means quarterbacks have less time for routes to develop, and more pressure forces quicker decisions and inaccurate throws from quarterbacks, which could lead to Nate Wiggins getting more interceptions, more pick sixes, and more of a defensive specialist in terms of that specific game. The Baltimore Ravens also have enough talent throughout the entire secondary to where the offense does not have to avoid Nate Wiggins specifically the entire game, as there's other pieces around him, such as Kyle Hamilton, as we know, Trey Hendrickson in the pass rush, and Malachi Starks in the safety room, another safety, that you cannot take your eye off of these superstars throughout this entire stacked defense. You have to be aware of where he is at all times and know that your number 1 guy can make plays, but if Nate Wiggins is on him in a man-to-man situation, it creates a very scary situation for Nate Wiggins to be able to contribute from that aspect. Now, he's publicly said going into this upcoming season that he is looking to have a huge season. Some of the goals that he listed himself is wanting to become a 1-time Pro Bowler, as he has not reached the Pro Bowl status yet, as well as becoming an All-Pro in the cornerback room. This is exactly the mindset that you want to see and have from your future cornerback run. The best corners in NFL history have always played with confidence, the Josh Normans, the DRCs, cornerbacks of that nature. It's because the position of a cornerback demands you to be oozing with confidence. Wiggins is not lacking confidence at all, and now it's all about turning that expectations into production from that aspect of the field. Now, specifically going and talking about Nate Wiggins from the cornerback room, shifting from when he was in Clemson all the way to now, my best pro comp of what Nate Wiggins could be going into the 2026-2027 and later down the road in his career is a Darius Slay prime Lions type of player. Very long, smooth, is a very elite athlete, has excellent ball skills, and multiple Pro Bowls. Darius Slay wasn't really overwhelming with physicality as being able to be known as a press and winning those press situations. But his athleticism, his instincts, and the playmaking ability that Darius Slay had is something that I see in Nate Wiggins, and he has many of those similar qualities in terms of being able to produce going into this next season. My final predictions for Nate Wiggins, and they're pretty bold predictions, but I say Nate Wiggins could kill these predictions. First things first, going into the 26-27 season, I believe Nate Wiggins will make his first Pro Bowl this season. It is long overdue. Last season, I believe that he had tendencies to be able to contribute as a Pro Bowl corner, but with this next step, and me believing that the Baltimore Ravens will have a very successful and healthy year, I believe he will make his first Pro Bowl. As well as this, I believe he will be a legitimate candidate for an All-Pro selection as one of the best corners in the league, next to the Surtains and next to the J.C. Horns, as being a guy that is talked about as being a scary number one corner to go against. Obviously, with this, I believe he will be a top 10 corner in the NFL, top 5 begging that the Baltimore Ravens have a very successful season. And as we've seen the interception growth grow throughout the course of his career so far, in the third year leap, I believe that he will have 5+ interceptions and be able to house at least 2 of those interceptions in pick sixes to contribute to the Baltimore Ravens defense as a whole. If everything comes together that we've talked about, his health, the year 3 development, the added strength, the growth control, and another year of development behind Jesse Minter and this new defensive system, I genuinely think that 2026 is the season that Nate Wiggins goes from a promising young player to one of the faces on the Baltimore Ravens defense. And by the end of the year, people around the league could be talking about him as one of the NFL's next great and shutdown corners in league history. Do you think Nate Wiggins makes his first Pro Bowl this year? And where do you think he'll rank among NFL corners by the end of the year? Let me know down below. Let me know if you think he will have his first All-Pro season and be able to contribute at the highest level in the cornerback room. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the video. We're posting Ravens videos every single day. You guys are not going to want to miss out on it at all. And until next time on Ravens Digest, we're signing off. Go Ravens flock.